Hello everyone, I'm Terry Duke, and welcome to my channel. Mount & Blade Warband is probably the game I've modded the most in my life, as my channel can attest, but you can only mod a game so much without retaining some of the core features of the game. And one thing mods tend to retain a lot from Warband is the lack of a storyline. Warband was designed as a sandbox, so you start from anywhere and the story is what you make it out to be. Do you join a kingdom against the others? Do you build your own empire? It's all up to you. But sometimes, this lack of clear direction can make it difficult to get into the game, which is why there are many mods out there that aimed to actually create a story for the game, a plot, an intrigue, and unique quests to experience it. So join me today as I rank my favorite mods from Warband with a storyline. As always, feel free to support me with a like and subscribe. I've been working on this channel for 2 years, but this is still not my full-time job, so every sub, every like, every comment, it all helps towards the growth, so I greatly appreciate it. Now on to the video. Before we begin, I need to make something clear. This video is about my favorite mods with a story, not unique quests, but an actual story from the beginning of a new game, which, when completed, feels like you finished the mod. There are many mods with unique quests, however these mods typically fulfill their purposes whether you find those unique quests or not, and there would be too many to cover in this video, so right here on the screen, here are my favorite mods that feature unique quests without a clear central story. But to name a few, both A Clash of Kings and A World of Ice and Fire offers many unique quests within the world of Game of Thrones by interacting with existing characters. These quests involve assassinations, diplomacy, and even incursions beyond the wall in search of White Walkers. Great mods overall, and the unique quests are definitely memorable. But more memorable for me, of course, will be the unique quests of Paris Snow. Paris Snow has been my favorite mod for a long time and offers many unique quests that are both fun and challenging, but ultimately very rewarding with some really cool gear. But that's about it. Every mod mentioned here is one I mentioned at some point in one of my many mod videos, so to learn more about any of them, well, feel free to check out my channel. Yes, this is all one big tease, but now, story time. At number 6, Adventure in the East. This mod is set in late antiquity in the Middle East. At this period in time, the main superpower is the Byzantine Empire, but new powers are rising in the East to challenge it. The mod offers to play a story campaign, which is why I've included it in the ranking. In the campaign, you start off with nothing, but quickly find yourself working for the local rulers. One of them puts you on a mission to strike an alliance with another kingdom to attack the Byzantine Empire, at which point you can build your own army and take your own slice of the land. In the previous ranking, I ranked it fairly high, but in retrospect, I feel I gave it too much praise, at least compared to the other story mods in this ranking. As a mod, it's a pretty solid total conversion. The scenery, the items, the music, it's all pretty immersive. Honestly, the weakest part is the story itself, which feels more like a couple of unique quests awkwardly put together, and there are several times where it's not really clear what to do. And some quests, like assembling an army of 120 men, feels like the mod telling you to grind for some time just before moving on. To be clear, it's not a bad mod at all, but there's some stiff competition coming up. At number 5, Evlat. This mod takes us to Calradia with a few tweaks to the setting. For instance, your character is not a new adventurer, but an old one coming out of retirement. You also have 2 children with you as companions, and the other companions are all old friends of yours that are at different places. For instance, Marnid and Emira are running an inn, while Borcha trades in horses. Rolf and Baestor are back to being criminals, while Lizelit and Artmenor are running a training ground. All companions can be approached to get unique quests, and as you improve your relations with them, you can ask them to join you. Another interesting tweak is that all the rulers have been replaced by the claimants, and the original rulers are now claimants, which you can help get their thrones back. They also have a bit of unique circumstances. For example, King Harlos is now hiding inside a crypt, surrounded by loyal knights. But of course, beyond all that, Evlat has a very simple story. Emira back at the inn asks you to buy some tea. That's it. But on the way to get tea, there is a lot of obstacles, which, to not reveal many, will involve getting enslaved, surviving on the desert island, fighting to the death as a gladiator, and some epic battles with the Dark Knights. How this all happens? Well, you'll have to play it to find out. Overall, it's a pretty solid mod that is also very refreshing, but doesn't take itself too seriously. One word of advice though, when you see this message on the screen, stash all of the unique items you have. All of them, because as part of the story, it means you're about to lose everything and you'll never get it back. Wish I knew. Number 4, Azgad, Story of Calradia. Azgad is very story driven. In this mod, you're a villager whose village is destroyed by raiders. So in the first part of the story, you're tracking down the raider responsible, completing quests along the way, and earning unique items that are pretty deadly. But what I like about this mod is that even though you get revenge fairly early on, the story keeps going, and you find yourself becoming a lord in the Kingdom of Swadia, which brings more unique missions involving assassinations and infiltration. Overall, my only criticism, of which I've become more tolerable, is the awful spelling. Seriously, the spelling in this mod is so bad it gives me an aneurysm. But while the story itself isn't all that great, it is still a unique experience worth playing. It's a fairly unique mod for Warband, and as far as story mod goes, it's a well-made one. Number 3, Light and Darkness, Heroes of Calradia. This mod was so good I did a review exclusively for it. Light and Darkness takes us to the original Calradia from the first Mountain Blade, as a secret cult is trying to bring back some dark deity. As the player, you start in the neutral town of Xandar, and find yourself entangled in this secret conspiracy. Throughout the story, the mod requires you meet companions who offer unique insight and help you progress. Honestly, it really is a good mod, one of the few to even feature cutscenes, which is fairly ambitious. And of course, there's also fantasy elements. My only criticism, and why this mod isn't higher on the list, is because of just how insanely grindy the questline can be. Often you need to destroy like 10 groups of certain bandits before moving on. Then it's another 10, and then another 10. It's always like this. Honestly, the mod would benefit greatly from taking the grind down, because otherwise it's a really great mod, still a personal favorite. If you want more details, you can always watch the exclusive review I made right here. Number 2, Revenge of the Berserk. This one is discovered just recently. This mod is based on the Berserk manga, in which the character, Guts, is a mercenary with a massive sword that starts off fighting in wars, but then fights demons. As mentioned in my previous video, the main feature is the giant sword which can cut through several enemies, making the fights truly epic. However, I've played the mod a bit more since then, and you also get a semi-auto crossbow after a while, which is pretty cool, and the weapons and armors keep upgrading. This is as anime can get, but obviously this is based on the manga, and the story is very straightforward and easy to follow. Most of the time, the quest will just take you straight where you need to go, with the entire context needed to know what's going on and what you need to do, which makes it pretty engaging too. Overall, this is a really solid mod. Just one word of advice, don't surrender to anyone. I did so by accident, and it practically broke my game. Luckily, the modder told me each companion lost will respawn over time, but still, it's a pain in the butt. But anyway, amazing mod, try it out. And finally, at number 1, Bones of Ragnvald. Bones of Ragnvald takes place in the world of Einar, a fantasy world filled with many factions at war with each other. As the player, you'll end off the coast of Einar and quickly fall into the events that affect the world. Namely, there are two main threats to Einar. In the southeast is a forest filled with creepy spider demons, and they are creepy. And to the north, the Urnar are a faction of barbarians and sorcerers using dark magic to bring back the dead. And of course they are led by none other than Ragnvald, who mysteriously came back after being defeated a long time ago. But that's the lore basically, and in the mod the story centers mainly around fighting off Ragnvald, first by convincing all the rulers to make peace, then finding Ragnvald's brothers, who defeated him in the past. Honestly, in terms of story mods, this one takes the cake. The story, along with the creepy atmosphere, makes for a unique experience. In fact, the infighting from all the factions and the looming threat of monsters and the undead is very reminiscent of Game of Thrones, so if that's your thing, Bones will definitely be too. Not only that, but the mod, like any good total conversion, offers plenty of new scenery, music, and items. Only drawback? It's really hardcore. Bandits are numerous and really dangerous. Expect the first few hours of gameplay to be tough. But other than that, if you're looking for a story mod with some good intrigues and fantasy elements, Bones of Ragnvald is for you. And that's about it, although I do have two honorable mentions, which are The Last Days of the Third Age and Viking Conquest. The Last Days is a really solid mod based on The Lord of the Rings, so if you enjoy the movies or the novels, this mod will basically let you re-experience them. However, there's no clear storyline here. It really depends on which faction you choose and whether you find the quests at all, as some of them can be tricky. Viking Conquest is a DLC to Warband based on the Brittenwalda mod. I would not say it's the best story I found in Warband, but it's certainly the most well-crafted, with plenty of intrigues. However, it's a paid DLC, not a mod, which is why I did not include it. But yes, if you get the DLC, there's a story, which can take up to 15 hours to complete if you focus on it exclusively. But really, that's about it. So thanks for watching everyone. You can find a link to all the mods mentioned down below. Make sure to subscribe while you're at it, for all the very good reasons I mentioned in the intro. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.